Hi there, my name is Gudrun from Gudrun Crochet and welcome to podcast episode number 4. So hi, welcome or welcome back. As I said, I'm Gudrun. I am a 23-year-old knitter from Belgium. I'm also a student and I'm back with a podcast episode. Now, I haven't posted anything here on YouTube in a couple of months. My last podcast episode was in March. It's now June. And that's because I've been really busy with school and stuff, but also I had a lot of acquisitions in my previous podcast, and I've just working through those, so I didn't really have a lot of completely new things to talk about, but now I do have some finished objects. I have a whip and I have an acquisition as well, so I can do a full podcast format. I will start off with what I'm wearing, which is also one of my finished objects. This is the Lake Stripe tee by Ozetta, which is a summer tee with like a saddle shoulder construction. Let me check. This is my most recent cast off, so I'm not going in chronological order here. I'm just going off what you see first. So I have my little booklet here. These are my pages for my Lake Stripe tee. So I started this on the 30th of March 2026 and I cast it off about a month later, the 27th of April. But then it took me until the 12th of May to sew in the ends. So it was a lot of time for sewing in ends, like I think 2.5 weeks or something. And that's because, well, it's striped, so there are a lot of ends to weave in. And I don't know if you can see on camera, but it's like a brown section, then 2 blue stripes, 2 whites, like 2 blue rows, 2 white rows, and 2 blue rows again. So you've got a lot of color that are altering after each other, but this pattern is normally meant to knit with merino yarn, I think, which, you know, is wool yarn. It acts normally. I knitted in 100% cotton yarn, which is extremely slippery. And I noticed that I don't think I would have been able to sew any ends normally on this. It would have come undone. So I did some Googling, and then I figured out that apparently when working with 100% cotton, especially mercerized cotton, you have to be extra careful when sewing in the ends. So what I ended up doing is I split all of the threads of yarn into 2. So instead of having just the yarn, I split it in 2. And then one of the 2, I took it a bit further in the fabric, then made a double knot and then sewed in each of those strands separately. And I tried to go like a bit that way and then also back if possible. Which meant that I had double the amount of ends to sew in than you would normally have. And I also had like the reinforcement that was taking a bit more time. So this was a labor of love, especially sewing in ends wise. Knitting wise, I really like this. It was mostly on 3.5mm needles, so a good gauge I think for wearing, but still relatively fast. I think 2.5 and 3 go a lot slower. And the stripes also kept me motivated, because usually when I'm working on the body, especially in small needles, I feel like I'm just not making any progress. But with this, because you're doing the stripes, it does seem to go a lot faster and you get motivated to finish the next stripe. I did work off gauge a bit, especially my row gauge was a lot larger. So I ended up doing less stripes. So on the sleeves, for example, there should have been an extra repeat, but then it would have been really long, and now it sits about where it's supposed to sit. I have been wearing this a bit, and one thing that I noticed is that the neck has really stretched out. I did make some changes to the neck. I picked up less stitches, and I also did some decreases in the back, because when I first made it, it was flaring out. Now it was laying nice and flat when I cast it off, but since it's cotton yarn, it doesn't really have any memory, and it tends to stretch out, which is what is happening right here. So I'm thinking I should get an elastic thread and sew that in, but I don't know if I should sew it in at like the twisted ribbing part or maybe at the cast on edge. Not entirely sure. I'm gonna have to do some research on that to see what I should do best. But overall, I do really love this to wear on spring days. I noticed the sun is coming back. It's gonna come and go. It's a pretty cloudy day. Now I'm really hot and sweating, but I see some clouds coming, so it'll be gone in a bit. About the weather today, I got drenched in the rain about an hour ago when I came home from my exam. So the weather's all over the place. Anyway, on to my next finished object. Really don't have any idea about the chronological order anymore. I'm gonna go with this one. This is my Clematis Sweater Chunky by Emma Knits. And this was actually a whip in the previous podcast episodes. So talking about the pattern, it's a pretty basic construction. You start with the back, you knit that straight, then you make the fronts and then join the front and the back. But you have this diagonal bottom band going down the middle, as you can see. I had already made the Clematis sweater like the regular gauge. And then I had this yarn because I unraveled an old project that I was just not wearing at all. And like the Drops Paris, which is a pretty thick yarn, but I only had 800 meters. And I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna make with this? I couldn't really find a lot. And then I found this sweater. I was slightly under gauge, but I got a lace weight merino to hold together with it, which gives it a slight marling effect, I think. But then I was on gauge, and so I could make it. I have like a tiny bit of yarn left over, but I used pretty much everything. And this is a pretty good transitional piece because it's mostly cotton, but I do feel it's a bit on the thicker side, which then again makes it warm. So there's only like a specific set of temperatures for which this is really good to wear it. But again, still love the construction. I do think there are some changes in fits between the Clematis Sweater Chunky and the regular one. One of them being the neckline. With the Clematis sweater, the regular, it's really, really wide neckline, whereas with this one, it's much more tight to the neck. I also think that this one is a bit more, I think it's supposed to have more positive ease than the regular one. It's also supposed to have balloon sleeves. I did not do that. I just did like a tapered fit because I prefer that. But that's also a difference between the two in terms of fit. Then on to the next finished object, which was, I think it was a whip in the previous video. Not entirely sure. I think it was. This is my Peacock tee by LEKNIT. I am so happy with this one. This one flew off the needles, especially the yoke part. Oh my God, she's gorgeous. So this is also knit with unraveled yarn from an old project that, again, I did not wear. I did not have enough yarn for this, actually. I think I was lacking like 100 meters. So I slightly cropped the sleeves. They're supposed to be a bit longer. And I also really cropped the body. So she's a bit on the short side. It's still acceptable. Like when I'm on holiday, I'm definitely going to be wearing this because it's so breathable. But I wouldn't wear this in a more professional setting because it's a bit too cropped for that. But yeah, she's absolutely gorgeous. I think the lace motif also just gives it a more breathable top part, which I really appreciate. And then it's pretty cropped, so I get enough air moving underneath. And yeah, I just really, really love this. If you want to make a lace top or whatever, and you haven't done lace before, and you're looking for a good one to start, make the Peacock tee. It is so easy. I flew through this, and it's only like on the yoke. So once you have to start doing things like splitting for sleeves and stuff, the lace part is over. The short rows are done mostly before starting the lace, so there's also no like decreases on the wrong side and stuff. So it's really, really easy, and it's a gorgeous piece that you end up with. Then my last finished object, I finished quite a while ago, knitting wise, but constructing it, I waited until, I think a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, yeah. So this is my Heartless top by Emma Knits, which is a tank top with a heart cutout, as you can see. I specifically made this to go to a concert you're not gonna know them if you're not Belgian, but it's K3. It's actually a kids group from when I was young, and they had a reunion now, which was very, very fun. But yeah, I made this to wear to that show. I used LEKNIT yarns. I'm not sure of the name. Let me check in my little book here. Okay, so the LEKNIT yarn Venus, which is a chainette yarn, and it's 50% cotton and 50% merino. This pattern actually calls for 100% merino yarn, but I thought it was going to be way too hot to go to a concert at the end of May. It ended up being a heat wave as well, so that would not have worked well. But this yarn is actually really great for it. It does have a little bit less stretch or memory than 100% merino yarn, but I think because it's chainette, it did have a lot of stretch. I perfectly hit gauge. The cotton is cooling, but also the fact that it's a chainette and has yarn going through the yarn, I feel like air going through it, I feel like it's better than regular plied yarn, and it's also really, really light. I do have an entire skein left over. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it because it's pretty expensive yarn, so it would have been nice if I wouldn't have bought that skein. The only thing I have with this pattern is the hard cutout. Was an absolute nightmare. I originally didn't want to use any metal because it makes it harder in terms of washing and stuff, but I tried Scooby-Doo and it did not look like a heart. So then I started looking for correct metal wire, and I didn't want to buy it online. I want to buy it in store from a local store. And then I ended up buying a nylon coated thread, which is in there. It works very well. It keeps its shape very well, but it was so difficult to get it tightened. I asked my sister because she has the materials for that, and she also said oh my god, that thread was horrible to work with. So glad that's over, glad it's in there, and we will see how it holds up. That was it in terms of finished objects. Now on to whips. So, as I said, I only have one whip, and it's actually pretty close to being a finished object. But this is something that I'm self-drafting. I'm calling this my butterfly blouse. I'm knitting this in Drops Belle, which is the same yarn as for my Peacock tee. So it's gonna be like a summery blouse. This is a cotton, linen, and viscose blend. And it's a butterfly blouse because it has this little, you're seeing it from the wrong side, but it's okay. It has this little lace motif, which I think looks like a butterfly. So I have that around the neckline. And then on the sleeves, I have it going down all the way to the cuff, where I did them all around as well. I'm also going to do that on the bottom. So I'm completely self-drafting this. I'm also making a video about this separately. I originally wanted to do a little bit of a different construction, but I ended up frogging that because just the fit wasn't right. And now I'm actually pretty happy with the fit of the yoke. I am doing decreases on body because I felt like the body was a bit too wide. And I originally wanted to stop after doing, I think, 4 sets of increases. But then I realized in order to add the butterflies on the bottom, it has to be divisible by 10. But I also want the butterflies to line up like that. It's right underneath on the bottom, both on the front and on the back. So then it needs to be divisible by 20. So I had to make sure that I got down to a stitch count that is divisible by 20. So I did a bit more decreases than I was originally planning, but I tried it on this morning and I do think it looks fine. So I'm very, very excited about this. Just need to add a few more centimeters and then we can add the bottom hem. And I think this is gonna be really nice for when you need a longer layer, but you still need a lot of breathability in the summer and in the spring and maybe even into the fall. Then I can wear this also as a layering piece. So yeah, but more details on this will of course be in the separate video. And that's my only whip, guys. So good of me to only have one whip. So now we're already at acquisitions. I have a bag here. I went to my local yarn store for this. And I have 2 yarns, but they're for one project. So I'll get one of each out of the bag. So I got 4 skeins of the BC Garn Bio Balance in this black color. It's color number 30, apparently. And this is a 55% wool and 45% cotton yarn. It's all organic. I think it's pretty soft. My mom thinks it's really rough and prickly, but I really like this next to skin. And then to hold with that, I got the Lana Grossa Soffio, which it's looking blue on camera, but it's a true black, gray-black color in person. And it's a very interesting combination. It's 60% merino, 30% cotton, and 10% cashmere. And it has I'm gonna try and get a thread there. So you can see it has like a more dense core with some fluff around it. So it's kind of like a mohair alternative. It is, how many meters? 25 grams and 250 meters, so pretty much the same as a mohair. And I think it cost me around 6.5 euros, something like that. So a bit cheaper than a mohair. This is extremely soft. Like, it's butter next to my skin, but my mom, who reacts to everything, also thinks this is soft. So love that, because I think mohair is pretty prickly. Anyways, I'm gonna hold these 2 yarns together to make the Miu top, which has been really, really trendy online lately. I think I'm gonna slightly adapt the pattern to fit my body a bit better and also my style. And I'm hoping to hit gauge with this yarn combination. We will see. But I wanted to be really classy, so I went for a black. And I'm hoping it's not too warm, so I can wear it in transitional weather. Now, for my next acquisition, I'm gonna bring you guys to another location. Okay, so it's not the best lighting or setting or whatever. I cannot put my phone into the tripod here because I have a wall on that side of the camera and then the tripod is too high. Anyways, what I wanted to show you guys is, it's not a knitting acquisition, but it is a crafting acquisition. But it's heavy, so I need to use all of my strength. Ta-da! I got a sewing machine for my birthday. I know nothing about sewing. I've never done that before, but I really wanted to get into it, especially for summer and stuff. I have done some like little tests with it. I have like a little test swatch here, doing some stitches, trying out how the machine works and stuff. I haven't really made anything with it yet because I got it on the 10th of May, but my birthday is actually the 28th. But we did my party a bit earlier. But I have just been in study mode ever since. So I haven't really had the time yet to sit down for a prolonged period of time to get to know the machine, get to know how to sew, because I don't know that either. I also got like a lot of things with it that my parents gave me, so different types of needles, lots of these little guys. That's very important. And then a lot of materials that came with the machine, and I don't know what to do with them. But my sister was also very kind, and she also got me some other accessories because she does know how to sew. But yes, that's gonna be my little summer project. Learn how to sew. My plan is that by the end of the summer, I want to be able to hem pants, because it's something that I spend a lot of money on now, because I always need to get my pants a bit shorter and possibly make a garment. But I don't know if that's realistic, but making like a t-shirt or something, I think that would be very nice. But yeah, we will see if I have a talent for this or not. Also, it's a Singer heavy duty 4432, I think. I went for heavy duty because I heard that like regular simple machines, they can break quite easily once you do like a bit more than a few layers, and I'm hoping that this will be able to handle a bit more, but we will have to see. Anyways, that's it in terms of my knitting podcast today. So it's a bit of a weird lighting here to say goodbye to you guys, but yeah, that was it for this time. We will see when I record another podcast. I really have no idea. And let me know if you want to see any sewing videos, if I get around to doing a lot of sewing this summer. Anyway, that's it. Happy knitting and see you guys next time.